There it goes.
Good
Good
morning,
morning, everyone.
Here's Theavy. So welcome to our first episode of Pantry to Plate.
This is the second episode in May, not the first. Today we are celebrating the Heritage Month of our Asian American and Pacific Islander friends and neighbors. We're so excited to bring a couple of recipes to you that have been developed by two former dietetic interns, both who are Asian American. So Theavy is one of them. So Theavy is an intern at Georgia State University, and she will soon be graduating. She is an RD2B, and we will have another amazing dietitian in the field of dietetics pretty soon. So you asked me, what is this Heritage Month all about? I would love to tell you. So what we are doing in the month of May is celebrating and recognizing the contributions of Asian Americans who have come to the United States for many different reasons, across all fields, careers, medicine, arts, food, you name it. There are Asian Americans who are representing and doing fantastic work and supporting our American culture, not to mention just the influence that is spread across the U.S. So we are super excited to share a couple of recipes with you today in honor of that. And a little bit later, Theavy is going to share the words of some of our Asian American food bakers and what this Heritage Month means to them, and also recognizing a couple of specific people and their their contributions. Okay, first thing we're going to make is we're going to make Theavy's recipe, Pantry Fun Sit. Did I say that correctly? Yes. Can you tell us a little bit about this dish and what inspired you to make it with us while you were rotating here?
Of course. So I'm half Filipina. My mother came here from the Philippines around the 90s. And I grew up eating this dish because it's so easy to make in like a large amount. So she would make this for me and my brother. Any party that we went to, she would bring a huge tray of this. And it was so easy to make. And she also put whatever vegetables we had in the fridge. So because like vegetables give us vitamins and nutrients, and she wanted us to grow well, so she always put as many vegetables as possible on top of the noodles.
I love that. I like it, like equal parts noodles and vegetables. I like that a lot. So traditionally, what proteins are used in this dish?
Traditionally, I think it kind of depends from family to family, but my mom loved using a mix of shrimp and pork belly. But when we didn't have access to those, we would just use like chicken breast or chicken thighs, and they taste just as good.
So that's we use chicken thighs in our food-based version because shrimp is not something we often see come to the warehouse, or pork belly. But I will say the pork belly version is amazing. It's a special treat.
Yeah, it is.
So what I did here is I had some oil heated on the stovetop, and I added my garlic.
I wouldn't usually say to add the garlic first, but this is what Theavy's mom does. It gives the oil the flavor of garlic before you add the chicken. So we're going to add our chicken. This is two chicken thighs, and we just marinated it a little bit with 1 tablespoon of soy sauce. Put that in the sink. Thank you. Okay, so give that a good stir here. Okay. I don't know. You can't see my other pot over here. I'm going to talk to you about that second dish in just a second. Okay, we're going to just let this. That smells so good. Just garlic and soy sauce. We're just going to let that cook for a minute to let the chicken turn white, but not cook all the way through, right? Why are we doing that, Theavy?
It allows you to kind of brown the chicken, which gives it some flavor, and you don't want it to cook all the way because then by the end of the whole recipe, it'll be overcooked.
It's going to be super tough, right? Yeah. You can see the steam. Okay.
So good in here.
So
this version of Pancit that we're making, something's beeping. Hold on. What's happening? I'm not super sure why we're beeping. Okay. Continue. There are two versions of Pancit, and it's based on the type of noodle that you use. Can you share with us the type we're making with wheat noodles, and then the other version?
Yes, so we're making more of a pancit canton style, which is when you use canton noodles, which are made of wheat. Sometimes people use rice noodles, like the really thin kind, and that's called pancit bihon. And those are the most popular types. There are other types of pancit because it translates to noodle dish, but these are the two most popular because they're the easiest noodles to find. And the pantry pancit, we use spaghetti because it's also made of wheat, and you can use whole wheat noodles as well. They all work pretty much the same. It's just a different type of time.
Exactly. So this dish is usually dry, right? It's not a saucy dish. It's dry flavor, and it's really nice chicken flavor. So how did we make this recipe different from the way that your mom makes it?
Well, definitely the spaghetti my mom usually
For sure.
Yeah. I think my mom also uses a lot of different ingredients. Like sometimes she'll use oyster sauce, sometimes she'll use like dark soy sauce to give it a little extra color. I know for her, she loves like a nice yellow color, so she'll also use some turmeric just to color the noodles.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. She doesn't put too much to like use it as a flavor, but usually just enough to color the dish. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love that. Thank you for sharing that. So think about that when you make this dish for yourself.
This version is the basic pantry version. So you could make this using food that you find at the pantry, including choosing vegetables that are available to you. So these vegetables are the most common ones that your mom likes to use, right? So we've got cabbage and carrots and green beans. I just added some onion here to the chicken while Theavy was talking. So yes, always feel free to use the vegetables that are available to you. Okay. So I think I'm going to add the rest of the vegetables now. Yes, I'm going to add all the vegetables. So the recipe calls for 2 cups of vegetables. So like I said, Amy makes variety. I think this is more than 2 cups. But this just means we'll have equal parts noodles and vegetables.
It also makes the dish more colorful.
Yes, it does. It does.
So the cabbage that I have today is the kind with a crinkly texture. It's called Savoy cabbage.
And I don't often see that at the grocery store, so I decided to pick up that one today. I don't know if you can see the crinkly texture here. Yeah. It's not any different besides the texture than regular cabbage.
You can even use red cabbage if you have that. It still tastes delicious.
Oh, that would be delicious. You were right. That would be so good. Okay. So at this point, we're just going to let the veggies cook for just a minute, right, Theavy? And then we will be adding our noodles and our broth and our soy sauce and black pepper. So the seasonings for this dish are chicken broth and soy sauce. I think I remember you telling me your mom likes to use bouillon, right? Like the powdered bouillon? Yeah.
She thinks it adds like a lot more flavor because usually it's the chicken bouillon too, so it's a little different from just using salt on its own or just soy sauce.
Right.
She loves like all different kinds of flavors in it.
Yum. So something that I've noticed is that a lot of Asian cuisines are all about the toppings.
Yes.
So the toppings are where you can kind of customize it to your taste, right? Can you tell about the toppings that would usually be served with this?
Of course. So my family loves to use a lot of limes on top. I personally love everything like extremely sour. So I'll put like maybe half a lime on top of my plate. We also use chili sauces, so sriracha or sambal. We like things really spicy, but sometimes you don't want it too spicy, so you can put even less. And everyone has different flavor preferences, so that's why usually we serve the condiments at the table so everyone can adjust it to their own flavor preferences. And we also top it with like fresh herbs, so cilantro or green onion. And my mom loves spicy, so she'll even cut up some Thai chilies and put that.
Whoa, that is definitely spicy. That's awesome. So the lime is not the traditional citrus that goes on this dish, right?
It's not. In the Philippines, they have another citrus called calamansi, which is kind of like a sweeter lime. It's still sour, but it's so delicious, and you can't find it here usually unless you know who to ask. Definitely not in Georgia. I don't think I've ever seen it.
I'm wondering if it's one of the big Asian grocery stores might have it. I was literally just at H Mart. I should have looked.
Yeah.
Oh well, I did not do that.
It's in a bottle in like one of the Korean markets near my house, but I've never seen it fresh. But it looks so pretty, especially when you slice it in half because they're really small. And then
They are, right? Like key limes.
I've seen some people use it when they cook this dish here, but I just personally haven't found where to find it. I miss it though.
I would look forward to tasting it one day.
So I just added my noodles and my broth, and basically we're looking at this as a one pot meal. So everything is cooked in the same pot, and the broth is going to soak up in the noodles, and then also make a nice little sauce. Okay. I feel like I need to add a little bit more broth here. But let's get this boiling. And I will keep my eye on it. I'm going to add the lid. I'm actually just going to take the lid from this other pot and talk to you about the other dish. Theavy, thank you so much for sharing some details about this dish. I love hearing about how your mom makes it and how she also
was able to cater it to food she could find here.
The access to ingredients is really different here than back at home for her, so she just makes do with what she has, and it always comes out delicious in my opinion.
Oh, I believe it. My mother-in-law is from Thailand, so I've had the privilege to eat some of her traditional Thai food, but also the Thai food that she was able to make with what she had available. But she's a little lucky though because she has a restaurant and she has access to a wholesaler for like the Asian food. Specifically from Thailand, they import it. Importer. That's the word I was trying to say. I did forget to add the soy sauce here, so I just added that for the little extra flavor. I'm trying to get these noodles to sit down in here. Okay. So our other recipe is a Vietnamese style beef stew. It was created by a former intern. Her name is Trang. She's also from Georgia State, and she graduated in 2018. So we had, hold on, I need one more oven mitt here. We used to do a CSFP cooking class a couple times a month, and a couple of our agencies were Vietnamese seniors. And so she really wanted to make something that was familiar with some of the ingredients that came from their box. So one of the ingredients that comes in that box is canned beef. So it's just beef. It's not like a beef stew with gravy. It's just cooked beef in a can. So we had a fun time figuring out how to use the beef. Because it's not something that you find in a grocery store. So what we learned is that when you open up the can, the beef comes out and has a nice layer of fat around the outside of it. So when you're using that canned beef, you should add it to your pot first and melt the fat off of the outside. Because you can try to scrape it off, but it doesn't. It's not going to come off until it gets hot and it melts off. So then once all of the solid white fat is melted, you can take the beef out and you can get rid of all of the excess fat that was there. So that does help make that beef a little bit more healthy. So
This dish uses that beef, and we added some fresh garlic and fresh ginger, and some onions at the beginning. So those are the aromatics in this stew. And then we added the major flavor player here is Chinese five spice. So Chinese five spice has all of the traditional Vietnamese flavors, and it's accessible for people who don't know what to look for this flavor profile. So it has anise and cloves and black pepper and fennel, and it's this delicious concentrated flavor. Like, it smells so good. After we added the beef and the anise and all of those aromatics, I added some water and scraped up the fond or the bits off the bottom of the pot. Always want to grab those. And then added some baby carrots and some potatoes. So those are going to be our vegetables. Okay. So I'm going to scoop some out here and show it. There we go. So this is our Vietnamese style. It is not traditional, but it has similar flavors in a way that is accessible. My favorite part about this dish is that it's served with bread. So the French were in Vietnam for a minute. And so there's a lot of Vietnamese cuisine that is influenced by the French. So like this is a stew similar to like a beef bourguignon. And so they took it and made it into a Vietnamese style. And then also bread. Bread is huge. If you've ever heard of banh mi's, those are made with the French bread, and it all came from French people. So I hope you will try this dish. It is savory and warm and really quick and easy to put together. In the resource folder where our recipes are located, I also linked a traditional recipe for this, so you can see all of the additional ingredients that go into it if you were to make it from scratch. So that is there. Also a traditional recipe for the Pancit, the canton. The canton. Because Canton is a city. Canton is a style of noodles. There's also a traditional recipe for this noodle dish as well. So I'm gonna come over here and check on my noodles. But I would like to pass the mic over to Theavy. We have a couple of I don't want to use the word blurb, but that's the word that came out. A couple of descriptions of what this Heritage Month means to a couple of our Asian American staff members. So Theavy is representing the food banker voice here. So I want to pass this over to you.
I'm just going to read it straight off. So the first one is from Amy Lee. She is a retail sourcing coordinator, and she is also Chinese American. Amy says, celebrating AAPI Heritage Month usually hasn't been an involved process for me, but I'm happy to be participating with other Asian American coworkers this year. As a Chinese American, I often find it difficult to wrap my head around how much history comes before me. Asian cultures are vast and diverse, but our shared experiences with family and food and in American life bring us together, while all the interesting differences make us closer. This month, I'd like to highlight Hong Kong actor and singer Leslie Chung. He was a queer icon whose career spanned the late 90s and included Farewell My Concubine and Happy Together, two films with a profound place in cinema history and Chinese international LGBT+ communities. Farewell My Concubine was the first Chinese language movie to win the Palme d'Or. How do you say it?
It may be Palme d'Or. I think it may be French.
Yes, I think it is French, at the Cannes Film Festival. Chung's discussions of his own bisexuality and portrayals of queer men on screen received prejudiced backlash, but his bravery back then has resulted in a legacy that influences millions. While his existence itself made waves, his talent and heart while acting also amazed. I highly recommend the above films to anyone who likes emotions. I think I'm definitely going to check out those films because I've never watched them, but I've heard of them. And yeah, they're very iconic, so that's amazing. Thank you, Amy.
Yes, thank you so much, Amy, for sharing that.
The next quote is from Lan Nguyen. She's the education and outreach specialist, and she's also Vietnamese and Chinese. Celebrating AAPI Heritage Month brings complicated feelings for me. It is exciting to bring awareness for my culture and celebrate the things that are most important to me. Food, music, family, and the many accomplishments of my parents and others of the Asian community, and what they had to go through to create a life for our generation here in America. However, I have never felt like an American. I don't consider myself Asian American because people are constantly making me feel like a foreigner or an outsider based on the color of my skin, my hair color and texture, and the shape of my eyes, though I was born here and speak English without a foreign accent. The month of May is a reminder that not only is Asian culture shared and appreciated here in America, but there's still a lot of work, advocacy, and social justice to be done for the Asian community to truly be safe and a part of America. Ali Wong, a Vietnamese and Chinese actress, writer, and comedian, is who I would like to feature this week. She is applauded for kicking down multiple barriers, acting like a model minority, cultural expectations from immigrant parents, and expectations of a woman, pregnancy, and motherhood. She moves away from the traditional comedians who tell jokes of self-hate, reinforcing stereotypes, or doing embarrassing impressions of relatives' accents. If you've never heard of Ali Wong, I encourage you to watch her movie Always Be My Maybe, any of her 3 comedy specials on Netflix, or read her book Dear Girls. Warning: content is intended for mature audiences only. I love Ali Wong as well. Thank you so much for sharing, Lan.
Yes, thank you, Lan and Amy for sharing your words and letting us read them and share them with the wider community. Our noodles are done. I turned them up so I could try to boil off some of the extra liquid. They did add a little extra because I was a little worried in the beginning.
But they
are done. And look at how many vegetables are in here. So just imagine what vegetables you might use if you were to make that happen. It smells like chicken.
Which is how it's supposed to smell. It's supposed to smell like chicken. Okay, so we're going to add some here. Some bowl with all the veggies. So our version is a little more wet than the traditional version. But the reason why we did that is because, correct me if I'm wrong, traditionally this dish is cooked in steps. So you would cook the vegetables, and you would take them out, and then you would cook the chicken, and then you would take it out. So we were trying to figure out how we could make the cooking time a little bit shorter. So that's what we kind of converted it to this one pot meal style. And so the noodles cook with everything else at the same time. So if you would like drier noodles, you can cook it down just a little bit more, or just pull it out of the broth. Yeah. But honestly, the broth is delicious.
It's really good.
It does. Okay, friends. Thank you so much for joining today. Is there anything else you would like to share with our audience about what this month means to you, or anything?
I think what this month means to me is just really celebrating my heritage, and I actually just got done celebrating in April Cambodian New Year. There's multiple countries that celebrate it, so it's really nice to keep the celebrations and honoring my heritage going. And it's amazing, like it makes me feel really in touch with my culture, and I love connecting with other Asian cultures as well. So thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you so much
for coming. I'm so glad to have you back in the kitchen and to share the recipe that you developed that we could share with our community members. So thanks again for showing up and celebrating with us.
You can find the
recipes and resources from this episode at the link posted at the bottom of the screen. That is bit.ly/ACFB Nutrition Resources in the Cooking Videos folder. So make sure you grab the capital letters in there because they are required. So we will see you in June in the second Tuesday with our next episode of Pantry to Plate. And thank you so much. Happy Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month.
Thank you.
Bye.